Welcome to Schmitt Tonight. 2 weeks to go, and we are following every indicator that we can find for clues at how this thing is going to turn out. Tonight, there are warning signs blasting all over the place for Kamala Harris. It appears 2 blue states, Virginia and New Mexico, have now become very competitive. We're going to have more on that here in just a couple of minutes. But first, the swing states. And of the 7, Nevada was thought to be the most secure for Kamala Harris, the bluest of the swing states. One of the top election data minds in that state is a guy named John Ralston, who's now saying of Clark County, which is the county that holds Las Vegas and more than 2/3 of the state's population, Ralston writing, the Clark County firewall has all but collapsed, and the rurals are way overperforming. The large mail ballot lead enjoyed by Democrats has been erased and more by the GOP leading in in-person early voting. Republicans lead by about 8,000 votes statewide, or 3%, right at the beginning of the process. And this is when Democrats are supposed to be performing at their best. There appears to be a turnout crisis unfolding for Kamala Harris. Nobody too enthusiastic about voting for 4 more years of hell. I'm not sure if we're surprised by that. The Hill questioning today, what if Joe Biden was the better candidate all along? That's a headline. From NBC, Democrats brace for a possible crack in the blue wall and signs of North Carolina maybe slipping away. This morning from our political analyst, Mark Halperin. Take a listen to this.
If the early vote numbers stay the way they are, and that's a big if, we'll almost certainly know before Election Day who's going to win the election. If these numbers hold up in the states where we can understand even partially what the data is like, we'll know that Donald Trump's going to be president on Election Day.
That is a wild thought and a massive statement. At this point, everything is moving in one direction, and that is all away from Kamala Harris, whose campaign is trying to project confidence to CNN by claiming it's just a very, very, very tight race. Quote, the Harris aides expressed a jittery self-confidence, but they also kept using phrases such as jump ball and down to the wire, and the occasional emoji with the nauseous green cheeks. Yeah, it doesn't sound confident. We've all seen the polling, of course. Trump is now leading in every single swing state, according to the Real Clear Politics average of the polls. Even Nevada, where Trump leads by nearly a full point in an average of all the polls, that are, of course, mostly biased toward Kamala Harris. Look at those numbers, though. Look at that, 2.5 in Georgia. And this is the average of a bunch of polls that typically lean to the left. But the polling on issues that even they invented really indicates a potential bloodbath. How many billion times have you heard this line over the last 3.5 years?
The Republicans, led by the former president, instigated a war on American democracy.
He is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
He is completely unfit because he is a real threat to democracy.
Coups are bad, that it's not okay to overthrow the government. And I think that's a really low bar, but I think that's really where we are right now with this Republican Party.
Threat to democracy, right? You hear it every day, all day. The Washington Post asked voters who they think is better to handle threats to democracy. Just kind of a layup question for the Washington Post pollsters. And Trump is leading in that question by 3 points. How amazing is that to see? I mean, that's funny. He's also now leading a new YouGov poll of Arab American voters by a couple of points, which is just astonishing. The man that moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, the man who mocked Democrats for being too afraid to call out radical Islamic terrorism, is beating Kamala Harris with Arab Americans. NBC hinting at what sounds like predictions from anonymous staffers that Michigan may be gone. There has been a thought that maybe Michigan or Wisconsin will fall off, said a senior Harris campaign official, who stressed that the bigger concern is over Michigan more so than Wisconsin. It is tough to imagine Kamala Harris losing Michigan and then winning a state like Pennsylvania. And with 2 weeks out and very little to change the momentum trends, and Kamala Harris taking the day off from the trail just to do a couple interviews on very easy networks, we could be witnessing the beginning of an epic collapse. You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt Tonight on Newsmax.